They met before love ever crossed their minds, before heartbreak taught them how to be careful, before life became heavy and responsibilities replaced dreams. They met when laughter came easily, when promises were harmless, when time felt endless. They met in a season where nothing felt permanent, where days blended into nights, and the future felt far away. They were young, unafraid, unaware of how deeply a single connection could shape a lifetime. They were just friends, best friends. The kind of friends who talked without needing reasons, the kind who shared coffee at midnight because sleep felt optional, the kind who sat on rooftops watching the city breathe, the kind who understood silence better than words. They laughed loudly. They laughed often. They laughed at things no one else understood, inside jokes that meant nothing to others. But everything to them, everyone around them saw nothing special. Just two people always together, always teasing, always showing up for each other. They looked ordinary, comfortable, predictable. What no one noticed was how his day felt unfinished until he heard her voice, how he waited for her messages before sleeping, how even the quietest nights felt complete if she was on the other end of the phone. What no one noticed was how she felt safe only when he walked her home, how the world felt less threatening when he stood beside her, how her heart calmed the moment she saw his name appear on her screen. Slowly, without realizing it, their lives began to orbit around each other, not in obvious ways, not in dramatic gestures, but in subtle choices. He saved stories to tell her later. She remembered small details he never thought mattered. He noticed her moods before she spoke. She sensed his pain even when he smiled. They dated other people, tried to move forward, tried to convince themselves this was normal. They told themselves, this is what friendship looks like. This is what closeness feels like. This is safe. They tried to believe that missing someone this deeply was ordinary, that caring this much did not mean anything more. But every relationship they entered felt incomplete. Every date felt slightly wrong. Every connection felt borrowed. They smiled for others, but their laughter never sounded the same. They hugged others, but those arms never felt like home. Every relationship felt like waiting for something unnamed, something familiar, something that already existed somewhere else. Because somewhere in the background, always present, always quiet, there was that one person, the one they trusted more than anyone, the one who knew their fears, the one who saw them at their weakest, the one they wanted to call when things went wrong. And when things went right, years passed. Life grew louder. Careers changed. Responsibilities piled up. The innocence of their early days slowly faded. Dreams became plans. Plans became pressure. Cities changed. Addresses changed. Versions of themselves changed. But somehow, against logic, against distance, against time, they never stopped finding their way back to each other. Late-night calls replaced spontaneous hangouts. Short messages replaced endless conversations. But the connection never weakened. It adapted. It waited. Late-night calls turned into emotional confessions. Jokes turned into pauses that lasted a little too long. Silence turned into longing. They spoke about their failures, their fears, their disappointments. They spoke about the people who left, the relationships that didn't work, the versions of love that broke them. And every time, without realizing it, they found comfort in each other again. He was there when she cried after heartbreak, listening without judgment, holding space for her pain. Even when it hurt him to do so, she was there when he felt lost, when success felt empty, when no achievement filled the silence. She reminded him who he was. Neither of them spoke the truth, because speaking it meant risking everything. They were afraid that love would destroy the one thing they could not afford to lose, their friendship. So they stayed quiet. They chose safety over honesty, comfort over confession, until one night, after a bad day, after another failed relationship, after pretending to be strong for too long, she finally said something she had never said before. She said, I do not know what love is anymore, but I know I lose myself when you are not around. The words hung in the air, heavy, unavoidable. He stayed quiet, not because he didn't know what to say, but because he had carried that truth for years. He had loved her silently, carefully, patiently. He had loved her through distance, through other people, through unspoken nights, afraid that loving her openly would cost him the one constant in his life. He finally said, I was scared to love you, because loving you meant risking everything. That moment changed everything. It was not fireworks. It was not dramatic. It was quiet, real, honest. Love did not arrive suddenly. It had always been there, growing patiently, waiting for the right moment, waiting for courage. They did not fall in love. They realized they already were. Being together felt natural, like coming home after a long journey, like breathing without effort. There was no pressure, no performance, no need to impress. They already knew each other's flaws, their bad habits, their worst moments. They had seen each other tired, broken, lost, and still, they chose each other. Arguments were different, because respect already existed. Disagreements were softer, because understanding had been built over years. Love was deeper, because trust was already there. This was not a fairy tale. This was real love, the kind that grows slowly, the kind that survives time, distance, fear, the kind that does not rush, does not demand, does not disappear when things get hard. True love does not always start with attraction. Sometimes it starts with comfort, with loyalty, with staying when walking away would be easier. Sometimes love grows quietly, between shared jokes, late-night conversations, and years of choosing each other without realizing it. And sometimes, the greatest love of your life is already standing beside you, calling you their best friend,